A father spends 20 years searching for his missing children. A father is murdered the same week his daughter finally walks through his door. Coincidence? Stories like that don't believe in coincidence. Welcome back to Movizo, where every ending hides a beginning. Today, we're tearing apart a murder mystery told from inside a sheep pen, and proving the smartest detective in this story walks on 4 legs. Here's the detail almost everyone misses on a first watch. George's hands carry 2 colors the night he dyes blue and green. The blue is easy. It's medicine he rubs on his sheep every single day. The green is the puzzle. Nobody questions where green comes from because nobody's looking that closely. But green is never original. Green is always a mixture. That single unexplained smear is the entire case folded into one image, sitting in plain sight from the moment the body hits the ground. Worth noting, some viewers online have floated a theory that the colors were meant to symbolize the show's winter lamb versus spring lamb divide. Blue for belonging and green for the outsider. That's a fun reading, not anything the story confirms. It's poetic, but it ignores the much more literal explanation sitting right there in the paint. Let's take the weakest theory first, because the story practically begs you to believe it. Rebecca looks guilty. She lied to police about visiting the farm. Her bracelet turns up in the field. Poison berries are planted in her shoes. Officer Tim builds an entire case on means, motive, opportunity, and Rebecca matches all 3 on paper. If you stopped watching the moment she got handcuffed, you'd walk away convinced this was solved. But pull on that thread, and it unravels fast. Rebecca's guilt is built entirely on things other people placed near her. A dropped bracelet, planted evidence, a borrowed scent that even the sheep can't quite place on her face. None of it is something she did with intent. It's staging, not proof. Now compare that to the Sun. Peter never appears as Peter. He appears disguised as a frustrated tabloid reporter, conveniently present at every turn of the investigation, conveniently first on scene after the murder, conveniently able to slip into the will reading and plant evidence in Rebecca's room under the excuse of a phone call. That's not someone reacting to events. That's someone orchestrating them. And then there's the detail that breaks the disguise completely: his hair. Cheap yellow dye, applied in a rush before arriving in town, specifically so his face wouldn't resemble his father's or his sister's. Mix that yellow with the blue medicine staining George's hands during their struggle, and you get exactly the green left behind on a pillow and on a corpse. The paint isn't a clue about the victim, it's a clue about the one person who needed to look like a stranger. The weak theory pointed at the person closest to the money. The real story was always about the person closest to the disguise. Underneath the poison and the paint, this is a story about who gets remembered and who gets erased. The sheep literally vote to forget anything painful. They count to 3 and delete George's death from their minds. Only Maple refuses. Only Lily refuses. And it's that refusal to forget that ends up solving the murder, because every clue Lily follows is a memory nobody else wanted to keep. The mystery isn't really about a will or a fortune. It's about what happens to the truth when an entire group decides comfort matters more than memory. I don't think this story is subtle about where its sympathy lies. The real world is different from the books. Line Lily says out loud is the show admitting its own twist before it happens. Real mysteries get buried under convenience, not cleverness. Peter isn't a mastermind because he's brilliant. He's a mastermind because everyone around him was looking for the obvious villain instead of the quiet one. The hair dye detail is the giveaway. The murderer's biggest weapon wasn't poison. It was disguise, physical and emotional. He wore a different face, the same way he wore a fabricated identity. And the only ones who saw through both were the creatures nobody thought to interrogate. If George had lived just one more day to finish reading his sheep, that last detective novel, the one that taught them how to narrow down a suspect list, do you think Lily would have caught Peter before he ever got the chance to plant evidence in Rebecca's room? That's the case, cracked by a flock nobody thought to question. Welcome back to Movizo, where every ending hides a beginning, and we'll see you in the next one.